Uh-oh. What's gonna happen here? He's having some tea. You sip that tea. No slurping sounds?
This morning's newspaper. Holmes, have you read this article about you?
No, Watson, not yet, and I won't have time to.
Read it before you leave. It's outrageous.
If you insist.
He doesn't seem outraged. I'm gonna be honest here. Alright, let's read this. It says, September 1898, Globe Explorer newspaper. Sherlock Holmes at the home of the Marquess of Conyngham. The investigation is a fiasco. Yesterday, the celebrated detective Sherlock Holmes was invited to the manor of the Marquess of Conyngham to supply his conclusions following his investigation into the disappearance of the priceless Samoan necklace. It should be recalled that the lady called in the detective after the police appeared flummoxed in the face of the astonishing circumstances surrounding the theft. Indeed, the valuable piece of jewelry disappeared while that door to the room in which it was displayed was locked. The alarm was raised by the servants, alerting the room service bell, ringing out during the night when the Marquis, I don't know why they keep changing the spelling of that, when the Marquis, the only person in possession of the key, opened the door. Everyone rushed in to extinguish a fire that had started before it was noticed that the necklace had mysteriously vanished. The most astonishing factor is that no thief was found within the room, and all the exits were closed. As usual, Mr. Holmes resolved the case by the twinkling of an eye, and the jewel was recovered. I will not waste my time on the various explanations. Good, because I was going to say, do I have to skip this now? Because we know that. I will not waste my time on the various explanations as to the disappearance, because I would prefer to draw your attention, dear readers, to the last surprising developments in the case. My dear readers, weird. Following the departure of Sherlock Holmes, who placed the necklace in the safe himself, the Marquis noticed that the jewel was nothing but a poor copy of the original. Let it not be forgotten that the Samoan necklace, although plain and without ornament, is unique because of its rarity of its pearls which are found only in a small part of the lagoon of the archipelago of the same name, and to which scientists attribute their exceptional quality to the strong density of crystal of argonite that they are made of. The priceless necklace, that was extremely J.R.R. Tolkien of that guy, Jesus. Take a whole paragraph to explain what a pearl is. It was brought here at the beginning of the century by Lord Fenton Arwick, the Marquess's grandfather, and an eminent explorer. Should have been part of the daughter's dowry for her marriage to the Duke of Newcastle, so I am going to place a simple question. Should we not, in all open-mindedness, ask ourselves if the necklace was not simply and deliberately exchanged for a fake by Mr. Holmes himself? Are you calling me a thief, Mr. whatever your name is? I'm aware, dear readers, that the brutality of this question, without any preconceptions, may certainly shock some of you, but the facts are there, and our thoughts and judgments should not be confused with the regard which we all share for the famous detective. It is not the first time that the Globe Explorer has expressed its reservations as to Sherlock Holmes's methods. Do not forget our counter-investigation into the escape of Arsène Lupin, the Frenchman who took Malgan pleasure in tarnishing the image of our royal family, and who by lucky chance managed to elude capture by Mr. Holmes. This is extremely long-winded. At the time, we did not hesitate to consider a tactic complicitly on the part of the latter. For those who are familiar with Mr. Holmes, it is quite apparent that his character traits show more of the opportunist and brilliant usurper that of a altruistic defender of the law. Man, I'm happy I'm a good reader. Man, can you imagine a bad reader playing this game? Whew! I would draw the attention of our readers to the suggestion that the description of this gentleman provided by his friend Dr. John Watson through his stories is a long way from the truth. It keeps going. Indeed, his behavior is derisive, contemptuous, haughty, and offensive towards the police, and in particular towards Inspector Baines, replacing Inspector Lestrade, who is currently convalescent, and an habitual abuser of narcotics such as heroin and cocaine. The doctor is, Sherlock Holmes. This is why, dear readers, that it is important to disregard Sherlock Holmes' good reputation in order to form an objective opinion and to ask whether the pertinent questions: was the necklace that Holmes found already a fake? If that was the case, why did he not mention it, and why should he insist on placing it back within the safe himself? Has the detective some unsavory interest in this affair, or is it a simple case of deceit in order to steal the extraordinary Samoan necklace? It is up to you, dear readers, to form your own opinions, but you can count upon your humble servant to continue revealing to the public that the doubtful methods and motivations of one who in the future I shall not hesitate to call Sherlock Holmes the usurper, to be continued. Oh, Farley. Sounds super familiar. It's still going! Oh my god, how many more? Okay. The ancestry of Prince Woodville recognized. The Lords Committee set up in order to verify Prince Woodville's legitimacy made its conclusions public last night. Without surprise, the prince's title was confirmed. As rumors suggested, in return of an unfavorable opinion by the committee, the prince would have abandoned any claim to the inheritance of the present royal family as well as any political activity. The young man, now aged 28, read history and law at Oxford with a diploma of philosophy. Okay, 28, history and law, diploma of philosophy. He spent most of his childhood in France, where he acquired a considerable knowledge of the culinary arts. For those who might think that this is handicap when integrating into British high society, let me remind you that he is also outstanding on the polo field and plays the bagpipes quite beautifully. Finally, we should add that lately he has become actively involved in charity work and aiding the poor. J.B. Good, please be over. It's over. Man, was that extremely long-winded. Okay, so a whole lot of nothing going on here. Okay.
Prince Woodville, French culinary expert and bagpipe player, might be our next king. That's not so shocking, my dear fellow.
You know exactly to which article I'm referring, Holmes. How can Farley dare to tarnish your reputation like that?
You know, Watson, that wherever glory walks, jealousy is bound to follow. As for the forgery of the necklace, I suspect that we shall soon be enlightened in this regard. Come in, Inspector Baines. The door's open.
Wow.
Ah, Mr. Holmes. How did you know I was here?
You are one of our rare visitors who avoids the second-to-last step of the stairs, which creaks dreadfully. And if I add the clinking of the handcuffs at your belt, to what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Inspector?
Have you read that rag?
Wait, what? The slander? Or the necklace? Let's go slander.
Inspector, can you explain this slander? Has the necklace of the Samoas really been replaced by a fake?
I don't know how the reporter got hold of the information, but it's true. About the necklace, of course. I wouldn't permit myself to question the integrity and honesty of Mr. Holmes.
The necklace is a forgery? Impossible! I saw the Marquis authenticated before my very eyes, before Holmes returned it to its place.
Mr. Holmes, the Marquis believes Osmond Farley's theory. I shouldn't be surprised if the reporter isn't behind all this slander about you. He's a freelancer, well known for his explosive and subjective articles. In any case, the Marquis assures us that you were the last person to have the necklace in your hands.
Let's return to the Marquis's house, Holmes. I'm sure that we'll have no trouble in taking apart this theory.
It is unnecessary. Such allegations collapse on their own, like one of Mrs. Hudson's soufflés. Let us leave the police to solve this problem
Wow,
and
that's
turn our
rude.
attention to the matters in hand.
Perhaps you are right, Holmes.
Alright, so now we have to talk about the
Inspector,
necklace.
I assume that you have the fake necklace with you. It's why you're here. Your superiors would like me to examine it.
Indeed. They would like you to confirm or deny putting this fake in the box.
Can't that wait? I must go to the house of Lord Peregrine Maitland, the Bishop of Knightsbridge. And the
Marchioness.
Marchioness.
She is beside herself. Without the necklace, her marriage is compromised. It is the principal item of the young woman's dowry.
What a lovely marriage. Holmes, forgive me for insisting, but don't you want to examine the fake jewelry?
Watson, I have an appointment, and it's out of the question that I arrive late.
It will only take you a couple of minutes. You really must quell the suspicions put forward in this appalling article. If you will allow me, Inspector?
Be my guest.
Very well.
Okay, so where's this necklace? Right there? Whoop. Right there. Alright, let's examine this sumbitch. Yeah, I don't think it would be as heavy. Well, you can clearly see those top three there are not...
These three pearls are of poor quality.
Okay, so we can just go around here. There's a small one there. Is that what that means? The small one is a.
This pearl is too small. It is not in its place here.
Right, and then this one's all
This pearl
extremely
is a
off
different
color.
color. Too many defects. This necklace is a fake. This is nothing but a vulgar copy, and at a glance it would appear that the forger has intended for it to be seen as such.
How could we have been fooled by such a blatant imitation? I don't understand.
Yes, how is it possible? Holmes, do you have a theory about this?
I have absolutely no idea. You insisted that I examine the necklace, and I have done so. Now it is important that I keep my appointment. I'm sure, Inspector, that you will throw some light on this affair.
Holmes.
You may accompany me, Watson, if you care to do so.
Goodbye, gentlemen. I'll keep you informed as to my inquiries.
Goodbye, Inspector. You mentioned a bishop, didn't you? Are we going to his home?
Yes, the Bishop of Knightsbridge. I put his address on our map of London on my desk. Would you get it for me, please?
All right, Holmes.
All right, Holmes. You control Dr. Watson. Kind of getting a little pudgy there, Mr. Watson, if I may say so myself. Yeah, even Mr. Watson has a sixth sense. Are you kidding me? He shouldn't have a sixth sense. But whatever. Whatever, I'll let it slide. What is that? What is
the work
that?
table, where Holmes analyzes things. Holmes's homemade analyzer.
Okay, but this is his desk, is it not? Didn't he want me to get something off of his desk? Does he have two desks? He does. He has two desks.
I have found your map.
221B Baker Street, yes. Will we open it?
Find the
Is
address
that
of
it?
the Bishop of Knightsbridge on the map, and let's go.
Alright, find the address of the Bishop of Knightsbridge. Open. I pressed open before and it didn't work. It still didn't work. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, there we go. Got it. Got it. After a clue's been examined, its icon will turn green. Okay, we know that.
The police? Already? How did you know?
May we see the Bishop of Knightsbridge?
Yes. Yes, of course. But come in.
What has happened, Reverend?
What?
I don't know. It was last night, I think. I only just arrived, and I have made this macabre discovery. My God. How horrible. I haven't called anyone. How did you know that?
Oh, here he goes.
Holmes,
Sherlock gonna go
look.
on.
The Bishop, appallingly mutilated.
How dreadful.
Mutilated. And
Wow.
killed. He was such a
Yuck.
good man. How could anyone be so brutal? Look at him. He is barely recognizable now. How could any of God's children be responsible for that?
They were evidently unworthy children, Reverend. Now do please try to calm yourself and focus, because we will need your assistance. Do you have any idea as to the motive behind this?
I haven't had time to do an inventory, but nothing appears to have been stolen. And anyway, His Excellency didn't own anything of great value. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Note this down, please, Doctor.
Doctor? But you aren't the police?
No, Reverend. I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is Dr. Watson. We are here at the request of the Bishop.
In that case, I must ask you to leave. And not to touch anything. I must get in touch with the authorities without further delay.
Reverend, when the inspectors of Scotland Yard find themselves at a dead end, which they quite often do, I assure you, then they turn to me for help. If you will allow us to continue our investigation, then you shall have the answers to all of your questions.
Out of the question! I don't even know you! I'm going to call the police, whether you like it or not.
It would be better for everyone, Reverend,
seems
if
angry.
you kept your temper.
For a
Watson,
Reverend.
are you taking notes? This affair promises to be a complex one. Therefore, we must not overlook the slightest detail.
Yes, Holmes. I am keeping a meticulous set of notes. I have created a very clever deduction board. One thing we can be sure of at the moment is
Wow.
that this crime was not for gain. The Reverend has informed us that nothing valuable was stolen. And indeed, it would seem that the bishop had nothing of any worth to take.
Very good, Watson. Do continue.
Okay, so we're playing as Watson now, are we? You control Sherlock Holmes. Investigation into the Bishop of Knightbridge's murder. Okay, so wealth. The bishop didn't own anything of value, not even in his safe. Right, okay, so these, what are these, clues? Okay, I think they're clues. And that's the map. That's the articles, that is the dialogue, and that's what I brought with me. In Watson's bag, of course. Okay, here we go. Look at all these clues they just give to me. Okay, let's see what's right here. What is this?
A broken vial and blood.
A broken vial.
What a strange smell. Phew. Chemical components, I think.
Alright, so chemical components right here. Let's go ahead and,
This stove is filled to overflowing.
and it looks like there's shattered glass right beneath it, and there's a trail of blood that leads from it to the guy. So, maybe acid, I'm thinking? Oh, yuck. Is that his fingers? Really? Is that his fingers right there? This is kind of disgusting. What the hell?
The fingers have been crushed and violently struck.
Yuck. Dude, seriously.
The fingers have been crushed and violently struck.
Yuck. Like, am I gonna have to, like, go to... Okay, good. I'm glad I don't have to go that way. The belly button, let's see, what does that look like? It looks like maybe he's been shanked a couple times. He's got holes in his body.
His stomach is covered in scratches. Quite evidently, they weren't made recently.
Okay.
So, these wounds were not made by his murderers.
And it looks like a bite mark.
His forearms have been ripped. Pieces of skin have been torn off. What do you think, Watson?
I'd say that he was eaten alive. Yet I've noticed a curious degeneration of the skin tissue around the wounds.
Okay, so I think we're done investigating him. I don't think I see anything else, so I think we're good with him. Yeah, I don't... Let's look at his feet, yeah. Right, okay, so there's splotches here. It looks like he's been
These burns
burned.
are terrible.
There's a finger right there.
A finger? Apparently it doesn't belong to the Bishop.
Yeah, it doesn't belong to the... Yeah.
How dreadful. His
What the
feet
hell?
have
What does
been
his feet
burned.
look like?
My first impression is that he wears a size 9 shoe.
You! But what does it matter, Holmes?
And then there's a rope.
A piece
What's
of
the rope for?
It was used to tie up that poor man.
So they used it to tie him up? That's a little strange, considering that the trail leads from the fireplace. I thought he was not tied up. Let's see. So he was tied to the chair. How did that work? We're gonna need some more clues. Can we look at his head now? Okay.
His chest has
So you got
been
the
lacerated,
scratches.
I would say, with a very sharp and fine blade.
Seems like somebody really tortured this guy, because the cause of death, I would assume, would be loss of blood, considering how much blood there is. But they really tortured him. They broke his fingers first. They burned his legs, and they cut up his chest, and then they killed him somehow. Is there something on his neck or something? Let's see. Alright,
You
let's look
can
at his
see
mouth.
by his expression that he suffered terribly.
His mouth is covered in blood, and I can make out strips of skin between his teeth. My dear friend, everything
Strips of
points
skin
to
between
this
his
man
teeth.
having gnawed at his own forearms.
That's unbelievable, Holmes.
Oh. That's kind of ugly. Okay, so let's see. That's all green, green, green. I don't see anything else here of importance. So he gnawed at his own hands, at his own forearm. How would he have gnawed at his forearm if he was held to the chair? I can't see. I'm doing it right now. I've got my arm adjacent to my to the way my knee is. I can't do that in the chair. So how would he have done that? I don't think he gnawed his own arms. I think he bit some dude's finger off. That's the only thing that explains the skin. So he bit a dude's finger off. That's all that was. I don't see
Something is
him
missing here.
Oh, yes? And what might that be?
His shoes. Watson, his shoes are missing.